Hello and welcome to my channel. I'm Tiffany, a retired librarian turned homeschool mom. And in this video, we're going to be looking at one of my few R-rated films. The reason I'm covering it is because one, it's really, really good. And two, the R-rated stuff has to do with historical events and not so much kind of made for movie gore. And there's no gore in this film. It's just kind of dark and it's dealing with two kind of interesting points in history. One, the film starts in 1927, where this Jewish man living in Russia leaves his mother and his daughter to go to America to earn a better living, intending to call for her. But things get sucky, and because Russia and they're Jewish, the young girl is sent off with family members to try to get to England. She's taken with a bunch of children to the UK and adopted. They changed her name from the Jewish name, I think Figula is what she's called, and to Susie is what her renamed, and that's what she goes through by most of the film, where she's maybe about 4 or 5 at this point, probably not much older than 7. She's adopted. She's slowly almost stripped of her heritage, but she does become an amazing singer. Her father he did sing, and he played the violin. And he was a very good singer, and so was his daughter. And she does eventually, when she becomes an adult, she's played by Christina Ricci as an adult, she decides to audition and go sing in Paris at a nightclub. I'm pretty sure it's kind of a famous nightclub, and her adoptive parents hand her a picture of her father and tell her that he may still be alive in the US. And so she goes to Paris with the intent of earning enough money to go to find her father in America. And this is right before World War II has started. And I think it's probably the Germans, by the time the adult portion of it, have probably invaded Poland and are fighting with France. But she goes over there anyway. And she's in Paris. She meets another woman by the name of Lola, who is a former Russian show dancer who's in Paris. Essentially, she's on the hunt for a rich husband. And she hooks up with a man by the name of Duarte, who's an Italian. He is a fascist. And he's an opera singer, and they end up working as part of his opera that is run by a Jewish man by the name of, pulling this up here. Where is it? Where is there's Perlman. And Lola is played by Cate Blanchett. And then Duarte, I can pull up who the actors are in this film. Duarte is played by, fun. Of course I run into this. I do not know who the actor is. Let me pull it up here. Who on earth plays Duarte? It's very funny that they're not showing it up. Let's see. Pull it down. Duarte is very Italian. He's an opera singer, so he's really, really arrogant. And Lola ends up with him. Here it is. John Taranto, I think is the name of the actor. And Susie actually meets a gypsy horse trainer that's played by Johnny Depp, and she starts falling in love with him. In between all of this, Susie actually meets her downstairs neighbor who's Jewish, and she starts reconnecting with her Jewish heritage. But as this story goes on, Lola ends up, after previously telling Susie, because they become roommates, that she wouldn't ever get with a man until he married her. She does it anyway. She ends up with Duarte. She becomes his mistress, so to speak. They're not married. She's living in his house. They're having sex. They have separate rooms. She is still, I believe, singing in the chorus, as is Susie. But the war is coming. And basically Perlman says, it's like, the Nazis are closing in, and my name is Perlman. I'm getting the hell out of here. We are shutting down. There is nobody here. The Nazis are about to invade. And it shows Duarte, who again, he's an Italian fascist. The Nazis like him. So the Nazis invade. Now, Susie is not registered as Jewish because, again, she was adopted by an English family, and that's what's on her passport, that she's English. And the Nazis come in, and her downstairs neighbor who came to Paris couldn't believe that the Nazis, the Jewish issue that they were hearing about in other countries, would come to Paris, but it does, and she's taken away, and Susie sees them rounding up the Jews. And again, she's not registered because she has an English passport. So her name is English. She's not considered Jewish because she was raised English. But Lola knows that she's Jewish because she's seen her picture, and so does Duarte. And Lola, they're still performing. She still has this love affair with Caesar, and she's attracted to them because they remind her of her childhood. They're very much open and loving and a big family community, and it's kind of chaos where they're living, and it's someplace she's embraced by it. But Lola finds out that Duarte's told the Nazis that she is in fact a Jew. And then, of course, they're using the gypsies because they're singing, and they're still using them as performing because the Nazis, they like Duarte. He's a fascist. He's Italian. He's an opera singer. They invite him in because he's one of them in many cases. So, because, again, the Italians are in a league with the Nazis. And Lola realizes this, and she realizes that if she doesn't act, her friend's going to get killed. So she gets herself and Susie tickets working as performers on a ship that's heading to America. And she tells Susie, it's like, we're getting out of town. And Susie's, at first, she's uneased. And she talks to Caesar. He's like, you were going to go. It's like, you know what they're going to do. And he's like, yeah, I know. Because they'd already attacked the village. They'd already taken people. So he knows that he's bound to be killed. And he says, you need to go. It's like they farewell, and she packs her bags and she leaves. And they basically, you see her and Lola, which is again Cate Blanchett's character, being taken out by a rowboat out to this big cruise liner. And they're off to sea, and Lola's doing what she does. She's flirting with older married men while Susie sings. And then one night Lola is downstairs using the pool in the evening, and Susie is outside, and the ship is hit, and they end up being, I think Lola dies. It's very much implied that she goes down with it. She's killed when the ship is torpedoed, and Susie is thrown off the ship and eventually rescued. And I'm assuming she has her passport on her. She explains how she had her passport on her, probably because she may always have it on her when she's traveling, because it's important papers, and they're kind of living in the steerage area. So, and she survives and is rescued and gets to America, and she is let into the country, and because again she's considered British. She's not, when she got on the ship, she's British, she's not Jewish. And she does eventually go to I don't know if it's the Jewish consulate, basically, one of their community centers, and is looking for her father. And basically said, you're lucky you got in because you have a British passport, because they're turning our people away. And she basically is directed, you might be able to find your evidence of your father here. And they tell him that she does find people who knew him. And he says that he found out that his mother and his daughter were killed, and he became very, very depressed. And he gave up being Jewish, essentially, and went to Hollywood. And he was singing in Hollywood. And so she somehow gets to California and goes around basically searching for him. And the people are like, who are you? And they're very suspicious. And somebody tells us, like, he's become very, very sick. And his wife and his children are very concerned. And you see her go to this hospital. You see this white woman and these two little white kids. And again, the actress is being played by Christina Ricci. She's very dark. And she goes into there and she speaks to her father, I'm assuming in Yiddish. And he eventually realizes and recognizes that this is his daughter, and he starts crying. And that's the end of the film. So I enjoyed this film. And here it is. I put it down here. Again, the rated R has to do with there are minor sex scenes in my research of it. One, Christina Ricci and Johnny Depp had known each other since Christina Ricci was about 9 years old, because she played opposite Winona Ryder in Mermaids with Cher. So, and Johnny Depp was dating Winona Ryder at the time. So he met Christina Ricci when she was about 9. And so, and I basically, they pretty much, the IMDb page is like, they're not sexy. The sex scenes are ridiculous. They choose not, there's no nudity. They kind of agreed to do that because in gypsy culture, apparently women are forbidden from being nude. So you don't really see anything. And again, the film lighting is very dark. I mean, they're in a tiny little rented room that her and Lola were sharing at one point in time. So it's very, very small. They probably share a bathroom. Almost, so they're poor. And so it's not seen. The R rating, again, is because you see this violence and the topics that are being held, where you see the Russian violence against the Jews and the chaos and them hacking and killing people and her escape. And you see, again, Nazis taking over Paris. So, and again, the entire topic, you see, they do show scenes of Susie seeing Jews being ground up. She sees her neighbor being pulled away. And the fact that she may essentially end up being shipped off just like they are and escaping. And you see a bomb hitting, torpedoes hitting a ship and exploding and her falling into water. It's very much implied that certain people die. So that's why it has a rated R film, rated R rating. So, age range for this film, middle school to high school. There's a bit of love stories. It's very dark. If you're looking for an artsy film about Paris right before the Nazis take over and kind of the effects on the people, it's a good film to watch. It's entertaining. You see this kind of coming of age and this journey of Christina Ricci's character Susie, where she goes from being this child to kind of being raised. You really don't see a lot. You see her being adopted by this family, and then her becoming an adult and I'm leaving, essentially. And you see them trying to strip her culture from her, and you see her reclaim it later in Paris, and then go and kind of find her father and see that, similar to her, he stripped away who he was and it nearly killed him, because he's in the hospital. He's not really being able to sing anymore. And you have this weird stoic white family, which is very, very weird. And you see her kind of reconnect. So it's a really good film. It's definitely very artsy. High school is really more the range. If your kids are kind of interested in that type of film, it is enjoyable. It can be a little slow paced. It's very musical because, again, you see an opera house and productions. You see the arrogance of Duarte, who's very Italian, and singing of the opera and the different relationships that go on. Again, Cate Blanchett's character is Russian. She's very much the type of woman who is looking for a rich husband. She was, I believe, in the Russian ballet, is what she says. And essentially she has to go find work because I don't know if the Russians shut down their ballet, but again, it's poor and communism, and they're trying to cut down on the opulence. I have to research whether that, but she's left and come to Paris to find work, and she's just searching for a rich husband. And she bonds with Susie because they're both kind of lost, and this is her friend. And then when she realizes that this guy that she mistakenly got with, who's treating her like crap, no doubt about it, once he's able to have sex with her, he doesn't give a crap anymore. And she's just kind of a showpiece for him. And again, and then she realizes he's just being a dick. and outs her friend as a Jew, and she's like, we've got to get out of here because the Nazis have taken over. They're going to kill you, and I don't want you to die. And he's a douchebag, and I want to get away from him. So, and that's kind of, it's an interesting story. Again, it's a very artsy film. It's done very, very well. It's one of the few films that I would recommend that have Johnny Depp in them, but that's because of the historical context. So it's not just this love story, it's very much of the gross story of reclaiming who you are and kind of what happens when a city like Paris is essentially taken over by the Nazis and how you watch it fall apart. So, and how violence and different cultural events have had a major impact on this young girl who, again, her father left when she was like 4 or 5 years old in 1927. And then you have, by the time this film takes place, let's see, I'm going to do a quick Wikipedia search here. I'm going to put the film down real quick. I don't know when Paris, when did the Nazis take over? No. Let's see here. Paris, World War II. So, let's see. When would this have taken place? French government departed Paris in June 10th. The Germans occupied in June 14th, 1940 is when basically Paris was taken over. So, and then they went after, obviously, the Jews were forced to wear the yellow star and were banned from certain places. And then, they started rounding up the Jews in 42. I think they're playing a little bit of fast and loose with the time, because again, they start occupying Paris in 40, and it doesn't look like they start rounding up the Jews until 42. But you definitely do see that in the film. So that's kind of the historical context of it. You see starting them to round up and culture the Jews. I don't know if they kill them. Obviously, they're Jewish. It's World War II. They were sent to Auschwitz. They were rounded up. But they basically, the Jews in Paris were forced to wear the yellow Star of David, which is thing, basically when the Jews took over. I don't know if they were showing them they were going to ship them off, but they were definitely forcing them to wear the stars. But the film may play fast and loose with times. And I'm not sure if they specify what ship they were on, but I'm guessing essentially they were escaping Paris. So it's a really good film. It's definitely very dark. Minimal age would be middle school. You see a little bit of the love stories, but it's very much this woman's journey and the effects of both the terror going on in Russia, which chases her father away, him trying to find a better life, and then her essentially basically family trying to take her to the coast to get her to England, and them just taking children. So you do see and they stripping her culture away, because as much as we like to deny it, both the US and the UK weren't exactly pro-Jew during World War II. They just weren't. And again, you hear at the very end of the film that Susie is lucky that she has a British passport, because they've been turning ships of Jewish people trying to escape away from American ports. So, which is true. It's 100% true that did indeed happen. So again, I really enjoy this film. High school, late middle school, depending on your opinion of your kids. It's a very artsy film. It's definitely that aesthetic. But I enjoy it. It's one of my favorite films. There's great acting. Obviously, you have Cate Blanchett. As much as Johnny Depp is irritating, he's still a very good actor. Christina Ricci is one of my favorites. So that's one of the things that attracted me to this film. I don't think there's any other major names in this that I am aware of. No. But again, not much else to say about this film, so we're gonna end this video here. If you like what you see, mostly I cover family-friendly stuff. Most of my stuff is family-friendly, as I've said, focusing a little bit on the homeschooling aspects, because we are secular homeschooling in our family with our current toddler. So we're not quite at the homeschooling stage yet. We're getting close. But most of my stuff is more family-friendly than this. Occasionally lighter. I also do a lot of children's books, as well as a few other homeschooling videos, some travel stuff, a mixture of variety of things. So if you like this review, like and subscribe. That is my crying toddler. Thank you.